When we come into this life, we are never alone. Everyone has their own guardian angel who is meant to be with them throughout their life. Guardian angels care for you and help you, but they cannot intervene. Most people think they are alone, but they simply don't realize that they have guardian angels assigned to them since they were born. And since they have no right to intervene, if you don't ask them for help, they can't assist you. They really love it when we reach out to them, tell them what you need, and they will do everything to help. They will work miracles if they know what you want. Everyone has at least one assigned guardian angel. You can call it a mentor, however you like. But some people have more than one. It depends on how complicated their life is. You can have 4 or more of them, and they take care of different periods of your life. If your life changes and starts to go in a different direction, these angels switch places, and the one who has more knowledge about what you are working on comes along. But generally, you have one main angel who is with you constantly throughout your life.
I look and think about what a strong spirit a woman has, and then I read her name and think, that makes sense.
Who is that?
Dolores Cannon. She truly has my respect. She is actually a star, in the best sense of the word, esoteric. Together with Mike Dutton, they explored the afterlife. These are 2 of the strongest teachers, among the strongest, who have studied this topic. They have absolutely fantastic books, and what she says is true. I guess that's about all I can say here. I stand by every word she says. It's really not about guardian angels in the way that viewers might perceive it. Guardian angels are not just some winged beings, some white figures. They are truly specific mentors. And when I was reviewing Life After Death, my own not long ago, a series came out on this topic. It turns out that most souls who come here have certain assigned mentors from higher, more experienced souls who help them at different stages of life. And she is saying something absolutely true. When a transition happens, for example, every person actually goes through several stages in life. For example, at one stage, he is focused on one thing. He is learning something, gaining knowledge in this world, on this earth. At this stage, there will be certain guardian angels. At the next stage, there might be slightly different guardian angels. At the next stage, there might be slightly different guardian angels. Because to put it in dry terms, it's like certain specialists who understand things better. For example, one of them will oversee the topic of relationships. Another one will focus on financial matters, and the third one will cover yet another specific topic. Or they will oversee just a certain period of life, different periods of life. Everything she says is just 100% right.
Well, okay, I want to latch onto that. So look, you say that if they aren't white and winged, then okay, how do they look?
These are souls. These are souls that are simply higher, more experienced, maybe even someone from the family.
And disembodied, right? Disembodied, yes. Well, that is, souls and spirits are there too. Soul, spirit. So basically it's consciousness. It's consciousness. Disembodied, which what? How does it connect, or how does it protect us? What did it do?
It helps. Look, to answer this question, we need to talk a little about how the afterlife worlds are structured. The afterlife worlds of Earth, there are several of them, meaning there's the astral plane, there's the etheric plane, of course, of Earth, and there's the astral plane of Earth. Moreover, the astral planes are multi-layered. There are higher astral planes, lower astral planes, what you might call the middle astral, and so on. And all management always goes from top to bottom, always. This also directly concerns our earthly governance here. That is, from top to bottom. This also applies to the management there, from top to bottom. So there are indeed particular energetic and architectural solutions on how to influence the life of each individual person, how to affect their branches of reality, how to influence certain energies that they receive from up there. Every person has a team of helpers, mentors, guardian angels, call them what you want, that oversees their life here so that their life goes better.
So where does it oversee from? From the afterlife world? From above?
From above, from the astral planes of Earth?
From the astral plane of Earth.
Yes, yes.
So what does it represent? Why do they really focus on this instead of doing their own things, you know?
Why do parents raise their child instead of just focusing on their own lives? It's the same here. In the afterlife planes, there are always, absolutely always, higher souls who have certain less experienced souls that they oversee. But just because they know more, they can do more. They can provide them with the energy that this less experienced spirit simply doesn't have.
Well, okay, let's say, how do they do it? So I'm here with my physical body in the focus and astral, and where are they?
There.
That's good. I want to understand this topic because there are so many multifaceted aspects.
You see, on this topic, honestly, I usually don't talk about this with the guys, but on this topic, we have Cannon and Newton. They wrote about 10 books like this, where every stage is described in detail. Right now, in this video, trying to condense this into one structure is going to be impossible.
Well, let's go into the higher self and take a look. I'm really curious about how they connect with us, why we don't hear them, why we don't communicate with them, and how they help us. They guide, mentor, and so on.
Then let's structure this by questions. I'll go through them clearly. So the first question, right? How do they connect with us and why don't we hear them?
Well, yeah, how exactly you say they guide us, help us, blah, blah, blah. So how do they do that? For example, I don't feel anything. Well, for example, here I am just sitting like this saying, I don't know any curators, I don't know any mentors, I have no one.
In this matter, ignorance of the law does not exempt one from responsibility.
Well, yeah, like how? So how exactly? Do they influence me? Do they inspire me with any thoughts? Yeah, I got it. Or how does this happen?
Look. Again, I'll be sharing my experience. For those who want to read in books, go ahead. I've already given you the links to them. I'll share my own experience. I've had several pivotal or transitional stages in my life. Since I've been a highly sensitive person since childhood, objectively speaking, I could see that. It was visible in the following way. Certain thoughts, certain energies. A few times, if I strayed too far off course, I would literally get hit with this huge white glowing pillar from above. It was really like a pillar. I was sick. I was really depressed. A pillar just fell on me. It was bright and pure, which on one hand completely took away my illness. I had a severe pneumonia, and on the other hand, it also opened up certain clear realizations about who I am, and where I'm going. This was during one of the periods of my life. In another period of my life, I once again drifted off somewhere, back into some depression, not knowing who I was or where I was going. That pillar fell on me again. But that's specifically in my case. Some guys aren't guided as strictly, because for me, I actually have a mission. So I have a clear mission. All the guys who are on a certain mission, they all know that they are being guided. I don't know a single person who is truly on a mission and doesn't believe in guardian angels or something like that. You can really feel it, but often a person doesn't have a clear mission. He has options here, and here. He has a million paths, a million options for development. And then, especially if you're not developing your sensitivity, you can really think that you're just living and that's it. No one remembers you. Everyone has forgotten about you.
You're so lonely all by yourself.
But in reality, everyone is remembered. They send dreams, they send people, among other things. They send certain signs, they send certain symbols. They gently influence your interests. But again, they do it very gently because there is freedom of choice. There is a universal law of freedom of choice. The Spirit came here to learn. If you keep leading him gently and carefully by the hand across the crosswalk, such as this one, he won't learn at all. So sometimes they do lead you by the hand. But most of the time, no. Most of the time, they just keep an eye on things and intervene a little, just barely, almost imperceptibly, in those areas of life, in those moments of life where it's especially needed. And then it seems like, oh, luck just struck, or like, oh, how everything turned out so well, how everything just fell into place. It's just so great.
Well, look, yeah, it's an interesting point. How can I tell that, for example, I've worked through something, I don't know, worked through some block of mine, started vibrating at a different frequency, and attracted a certain event into my life, like a lucky one, right? And here I am, feeling proud of myself. That's my achievement. It's not even that it's my achievement, it's just my vibration right now. So in my life right now, there's such an event. How can I tell the difference between that and someone intervening from the outside, like a curator or mentor of mine?
There's always a direction of energy. And if the direction of energy is from you outward, I mean, you actually sat down, worked through, rethought your childhood, some of your blocks, your traumas, either on your own or with a therapist. And you can really see that after this session, after your work, your life is truly changing. Well, that's you. Although perhaps you were guided to this therapist, but again, that's not the point. But if something starts happening, you know how it is. Like, for example, I think everyone has experienced this. If you have, give this video a like thumbs up.
So, write your story about what you've experienced in the comments.
Yes. Maybe you wake up in the morning and you feel like you don't remember your dream, especially if you really don't remember it. You wake up in the morning and you feel this kind of goodness, harmony, light. It seems like I fell asleep in a complete mess and was thinking about something completely incomprehensible. And in the morning, I woke up and everything felt good, pure, and bright. This indicates that in that dream, you were either touching your higher self or connecting with certain guardian angels, receiving specific help. So yes, you didn't do anything for this and it just kind of happened on its own, or suddenly some events from the outside started happening in your life on their own. Some events, some situations in this life, yes, have started to arise that are really harmonious and very fortunate for you, and you didn't do anything for this either. This is also a reason to think, is this help coming from above, as they say?
Well, you see, it requires sensitivity again, right? When you have enough awareness to understand what's coming from the outside and what's coming from within, and you can distinguish that information.
But again, in order to develop sensitivity, we have our higher self school, which has been working in this field for 12 years, including a separate module on blocks. And we have a whole team of therapists who work separately. You can go to them. And this naturally involves contact with your higher self. By the way, this contact with your higher self not only helps you clearly understand whether these are guardian angels or not, but it also allows you to connect with your own guardian angel and communicate with them, so to speak, in real time. For those interested, the links are below. Come by, I'll be waiting for you. I actually wanted to ask how to distinguish when it's your mentor, curator, and so on.
It was mentioned there in the reel that you should ask, say what you want, and so on. I personally know situations where a person has listened to all this stuff, goes around asking, and some emotional entity attaches itself to them, which we have plenty of everywhere. And it really starts helping him. And a person not having that connection with their higher self is like, oh, my guardian angel has finally come. I've been waiting for you so long, my beloved Michael, or whoever they like, and it starts like that. Then the person just gets sucked into this emotional void, let's say, with various entities, and at that point it's hard to find your way out. They get completely caught up in these attachments, so to speak, and think that their guardian angel or some archangel is helping them. How does that differ?
This is exactly what I always talk about, right? Ideally, everyone should develop a connection with their higher self, or at least every esoteric person on this planet. Because if you're not doing this, you might be reaching out from under your blocks, from your grievances and traumas and so on, well, from not very high energies, to someone who vibrates, as they say, at the same levels that you are at this stage. And yes, this can also include all sorts of attachments, various larvae, some egregorial entities, Bo, and other things like that. Well, this could be, I don't really like to scare people in my videos, as you all know, especially those who have been watching me for a long time, but it's true. How can a person who lacks sensitivity distinguish this? Well, to be honest, almost not at all. Because a person who lacks sensitivity, who vibrates at not very high energies and frequencies, will grasp at that help like it's a lifeline. And even if he has even the slightest doubts in the back of his mind about whether this is truly Archangel Michael or maybe someone else, he still sees real benefits from this connection, so to speak. And he will just close his eyes to any doubts on this topic. So sobriety and honesty with yourself, like genuine honesty. Are you really on a spiritual path, on the path of your spirit, or is it something else? Revealing your own spirit, your own sensitivity in a pure way, without egregores, without contacts with anyone. This is the path that can help you develop that sensitivity in the purest way, and then it will become clear. Otherwise, I suggest viewing this as a certain experience that the spirit needed at this point in time to go through this experience of contacts, as they say, with the false Archangel Michael, and to gain everything that the spirit wanted to acquire from that experience. It will be easier to perceive this topic if you look at it from this angle.
So, in any case, it's about establishing a connection with your higher self. Or rather, it's not just about establishing contact, but about becoming a channel for your higher self, and then looking at your guardian angels, mentors, figuring out who they are and who they are not.
Or there is actually a second option, but it also requires a very strong inner purity if you are addressing God, the Creator, as purely as possible.
Sincerely, right?
Sincerely, right from the very heart, from the very depths. Because you see, establishing contact with the Spirit, well, again, in school it's 6 months, and even that 6 months is like this. As they say, it's all about the buildup of this entire journey, but everyone wants it right now, here and now, here. You can be as sincere as possible, as much as you can, straight from the heart, with all the inner purity you can gather from everywhere. If you address it from that place, then maybe the effect will hear you too. It's exactly the level you want to be heard at.
But again, it's not a fact that you'll understand whether you were heard or who heard you.
Not a fact, right?
Okay. And the last question on this topic is about these guardian angels that this woman is talking about. Do they have any connection to these archangels, Michaels or not Michaels, and so on? Or are they completely different beings? And it's just a question of confusion in terms. That's what I want to understand. Look, we're with you. Because you say, these are souls. So these are just disembodied souls. As far as I know, archangels are not quite souls. They are a completely different class of beings.
It's a certain form of life already, completely different.
But I can't say that they don't have a soul. But their soul is not related to the human one in any way. Well, yes. And what about these souls that this woman is talking about, calling them guardian angels? What are they like?
She's actually talking about those very mentors, about those disembodied souls that may have incarnated here on this planet. She's specifically talking about angels. She wrote in the context of guardians. It was right after her that the idea that angels help us and so on emerged. She was one of the pioneers who wrote about this back in the 70s. She's been writing about this for many years. Naturally, this is not related to the archangels, the ones that are in Christianity, the archangels. There, it's a specific type of beings that came here to this planet. We've already talked about this with you.
Yes, watch the video.
Yes, about angels. It's a specific type of beings that came here to this planet to cleanse it from certain other beings and so on. So these are warriors actually, and archangels are warriors. Huge, strong guys with a lightsaber, so to speak, if you can call it that. Sending you financial well-being, and is not in their style. They have a completely different purpose. This is, in the literal sense, what is called the heavenly host. If we use Christian terms, there are also many different gradations among them, but this is a completely different group. What Canon talks about are guardian angels, helpers of the disembodied soul who live there.
Can we say that this is your star family? You used that term at some point?
And your star family and your mentors in your star family as well. So it's not just soulmates. They are also mentors who may not formally be your soulmates, but are your teachers, guiding you often throughout many lifetimes.
And they can be both incarnated here and not incarnated. It's just that this game, so to speak, takes place on a spiritual level, at those higher levels.
Yes, yes, yes. And you know, I've actually seen this phenomenon quite often. For example, a daughter or a son comes to their mother, and essentially one of them is the guardian angel for the other. So-called incarnated guardian angels here are actually just more mature spirits, more experienced spirits who look after, so to speak, the other person. And by the way, lately it's often the daughter or son who acts as the guardian angel and is a more mature spirit than the father or mother. Here, I mean, on this planet.
Well, yes, I often see a parallel here that all the souls that come in general, this new generation, new, they are, for some reason, mostly older souls.
Yes, yes. And the reason is very clear now. That great transition needs to be pushed along somehow. For this, specialists are needed not only there, but also on the ground here, who will handle all of this.
Maybe it's just the circles I'm in, but sometimes it feels like there are more of these ancient souls on Earth than less ancient ones.
No. Look, I actually have a whole area of research on the age of the spirit. That's a whole separate, really interesting topic. We spent like 3 whole years on it and just hundreds of hours. We looked through an endless number of photos. We made a final summary of the most diverse guys from all over the planet, from all countries, from all age generations. The average age of the spirit on the planet, if I use my system, ranges from a conditional 0 to 80 years, meaning I equate it to the current life cycle of a person here. So if we take from 0 to 80 years, the average age is about 15, 16. About 16. And I didn't check this myself. I had a bunch of groups on that topic. Those guys who are finishing school, they also go, among other things, by choice to this post-course research. Well, how many did we have there? We had 2 groups, about 100 people in total. So we are all 100 in the end. We see it absolutely identically, absolutely. So we have a match in results of about 90, maybe 95%. Around 90%. That's really good. So yes, these numbers are really relevant. They've been tested 15, 16, well, sometimes 17 years old. That's exactly the average age. If we consider the age not from 0 to 80, but from 0 to 100%, like, for example, in percentages, how much would that be? Roughly about 20% of the cycle that a person has gone through, right? 25% of the cycle, 20% of the cycle. So no. Among esotericists, we looked at 18, 20, 22 years. If we take from 0 to 80, yes, esotericists are a bit higher, but that's understandable. Esotericists are at the forefront of this whole story. They are pushing this great transition, as they say, a little bit forward. And the others are already following behind them.
And there are those who, remember, we discussed specific cases like 24 years old,
24, 26, 30, 35, and very rarely 40. We saw one person who was 40.
I don't know anyone like that.
1 in 1,000, out of 1,000, we saw one. That's really rare. Actually, from 30, I even think from around 25, it's really rare, to be honest, if we're being objective. From 25 and up, these are guys who are on a clear mission, who sit there and are really important for this world, if we can put it that way.
Dear friends, I invite you all to my course with a personal vision, Return to the True Self. This course has been around for over 12 years. And recently we launched it in English with my complete personal vision in 6 modules, working with blocks, working with egregores, working with the ego, contacting the higher self. answers to simple questions, answers to more complex questions. And then there's what we call the Great Journey. It's contact with space, contact with the planet, contact with God, contact with anything at your request through the higher self. Health, finances, relationships, purpose, past life. The course is available at any time. You can sign up for it using the link below this video. Come on over. I'll be waiting for you.